Hannah Hackman from Green Sisterhood, and I'm here with Karen, who is my co-host, who's got a picture in front of her.
Hi, everybody.
So that's Karen. She can't wave because
Yeah,
it won't work.
I'm waving though.
She's waving, and we're here with our guest Penelope. And Penelope, if I actually say this name right, I get like some chocolate bars. Jasar Schaefer. Did I say it right?
It was close enough. It was
God.
close enough. No, it's good. It's good. I have been called much more colorful things than that. I think you deserve a chocolate bar.
Never ask a dyslexic to actually do this. She's going to be talking today about her movie, Toxic Baby, and we're also going to be talking about a new application she has coming out on iPad and iPhone for your smartphones, the whole bit, and it's very, very interesting. We had a chat before, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Penelope right up on, and we're going to talk about Toxic Baby. Hold on one second. You are up on the screen now.
Yay, hello.
So Penelope, tell us a little bit about what is Toxic Baby about the movie?
Well, it was about 8 years ago when I was expecting my son, and then I had him. I just really began to understand the kind of scale and the problem, the issue of toxic chemicals in our children's lives and the effects that they have. And I just couldn't believe that I didn't know about it, and nobody I knew about it. And I know some incredibly well-read, well-informed mothers and women. And so as a filmmaker, I've been a filmmaker for over 20 years now, and I just felt I had to make a film to tell people what was going on, to give the scientists an opportunity to talk about their research, because I felt that really wasn't happening.
So you made this film, and the film was about?
The film basically follows the science, and so it basically goes from the Netherlands to France, all across Europe, all across North America. We go down to Puerto Rico for a little bit, but all across the United States, looking at what the science had to say. And the science is very clear. And I think we are very well bombarded with conflicting evidence. So we're not quite sure. Most of us, we think that they might be bad, but we're not quite sure, and it's not so bad. And I think when you look at the science, you will be shocked. I mean, the statistical figures that we're dealing with is horrendous. And I know that the vast majority of mothers in America have no idea. I mean, you know, something like the United States either imports or manufactures over 40 million pounds of environmental chemicals every day, every single day. These are chemicals that we're going to access through the air, we access them through the food that we eat, through the water and other fluids that we drink, you know, through our environments, our lifestyles. That is a huge volume of material that we come in contact to, and we now know they have severe consequences for those interactions. So from my perspective, it was really important to give those scientists that opportunity to share that, and share that in a way that people can access. And it's also really important to mobilize moms and parents in general, so that they understand that there's steps that they need to take to protect their children, and there's steps that they need to take to make sure that this situation does not go on.
So if you could name like 5 chemicals that just really threw you for a loop, that you said, oh my God, I use these every day. Right. And I'm a new mom you're talking to. I mean, I know there's many, but give me like 5 that the science really came out and just kind of smacked us in the face and said, come on, why are we using this?
That's an excellent question. And I've never been asked that question before. So thinking on the fly, I would say the first one, a group of chemicals called PCBs. They're the only group of chemicals that were banned or restricted in that way in the early 1970s. And I would say, you know, when the United States bans something, you know it's bad, right?
Yes.
The thing is, as part of this film, I had my blood work done. I had my blood tested for almost all of the chemical groups that you can come across. Very exhausting. We could only have done it in the Netherlands. It was the only lab in the world that would do it. And PCBs were turning up in my blood when I had my blood tested, even though they were banned in the 1970s. That just shows how long-term these chemicals can stay in our environments.
Penelope, before you go further, what are PCBs? Because most people don't know what that is.
Polychlorine biphenyls. They were used as electrical insulators. So they were used with electrical equipment, they were used in fridges, they were used in televisions, and they were basically very good at inhibiting fire. So they were used really widely. Now they're interesting because when they were banned, what was brought in was a group of flame retardants, the brominated flame retardants and the chlorinated flame retardants. So they knew that one set of chemicals were really bad. They took those out of the picture. They're not totally banned, they're heavily restricted. They brought in a new group of chemicals to take the place. And guess what? We find out X amount of years later that they do pretty much almost the same thing to the human body that PCBs did. They are known carcinogens. They have the ability to interfere with hormonal systems and disrupt hormonal systems. So we see a wide variety of chronic disorders and diseases as a result of that. So they're a really good example as to why we need significant legislation that says that when you bring in something to replace something else, you need to make sure that it's safe before you do that replacing. Another chemical that we can talk about is BPA. Now, BPA was known to be estrogenic. BPA was invented, it's a synthetic chemical, so I guess it was invented in the late 1900s, around, they think, in the 1880s at some point. As early as in the 1930s, BPA was being investigated as a synthetic estrogen. They knew BPA was an estrogen, and yet they went ahead and used it as the building block for polycarbonate plastic, which was widely used in baby bottles. So I mean, anybody knows that if you heat baby bottles up, which you need to do when you're feeding a baby, they get soft. They knew that the plastic leached PCBs into it. They knew it was an estrogen, yet they still went ahead and used it. And guess what? It's been a big furore about PCBs. A lot of the Green Sisterhood members have done a lot of great work on BPA awareness. So they're replacing BPA with BPS.
Yes.
Bisphenol S, same bisphenol cousin, just a different molecule at the end, has very, very similar effects and is completely an estrogenic like BPA. So, what I started seeing, which I hope people watching this will see as well, is that there's a pattern. There's a problem. Either the public decide they're not going to support this product because it has it in it, or for regulatory reasons they have been removed, and somebody comes along and invents something that does exactly the same thing. So we're kind of back to square one. And that, I think, is a major problem, and that's something that we highlight really well in the film.
So when you, though,
go ahead, Karen.
I'm sorry.
No, Karen, go ahead.
When we have new chemicals and we don't quite test them as long as we should because they're in a hurry to replace old ones, and you don't want to test on humans for obvious reasons, how do you go about overcoming that?
Well, so an interesting point, Karen, is that nobody actually has to test chemicals and provide evidence to regulatory bodies about their findings, for a start, here in the United States. In Europe, they're
Wait. So you're saying that if a company says, okay, we're going to replace BPA with XYZ, they don't have to report what happens?
No. There's no regulation at all that says that you have to do that. So you can pretty much, as long as you don't kill anyone immediately.
So it's kind of like
they shoot first and then ask questions later?
Yes, like you're assumed innocent before found guilty.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. We have
a visitor.
We have the youngest member of the Green Sisterhood.
Aww.
And that's what we're fighting for.
That is
so cute.
That is what we're fighting for. I felt it in such a real way because, while I've been making this film, I was pregnant, I had a baby, I was pregnant, I had a miscarriage, I was pregnant, I had another baby. So I've really had to live through the whole thing. And the second baby that we had a defect that is linked to environmental chemicals. So in the beginning, my child seemed to be healthy, but what I realized is that, they might be healthy now, but we have no idea what's ahead of us.
Right.
And so even though your child seems really healthy and you think, this is not my issue, because my child doesn't have autism, my child is not asthmatic, my child doesn't have cancer, or any of these other disorders and diseases that we see, I don't need to worry about it. You don't know when that flag is going to get raised. And, I found out that I was affected too, and it made me realize that we can't wait until we're all affected, because that's leaving it really too late, I think.
I have to tell you, when I saw the film and I saw your blood being drawn, vials after the vials, I, first of all, almost passed out because you had so much blood taken out. It struck me how people can say that we're all crazy moms, anal retentive, and, over the top kind of, people who are just trying to protect their babies. But you actually went through that whole process of really finding out what's in your blood. So, I mean, like they say, the proof is in the pudding. So you're not just like making the stuff up. You actually live through it.
No, and that's a really great point, because I've been called crazy. I know a lot of women have been told that they're crazy, moms in particular. And I just want to say this really quickly. The word hysteria, the root of that word comes from the word hyster, which means uterus.
Yeah.
So, like, you have a hysterectomy.
Right.
So, from very early on, they were very quick to call us crazy beings. Mm-hmm. And because, really, when you're an angry mom, when you're an angry woman, you have a lot of power, because you basically decide that you're going to do something about stuff. It takes a lot to sort of work us up, but when we get going, we're a force to be reckoned with. And I think for a long time we've been really kind of played to. We've been told, you don't need to worry about this. Don't worry your little head about this. Don't scare a pregnant lady. Don't tell them too much information. It's too much. We're like these Rapunzels who, I don't know who these women are, because quite frankly, I don't know any of them. We are strong, and we need to know what we need to do to protect our children, because we're the ones who have to deal with the sick children. We're the ones that have to deal with all of those kinds of things. And I think it's a horrible burden to place on any person.
And we're the first one to recognize something is wrong with our kids.
Exactly. And we go to our doctors, and they look at you like... They are not taught this in medical school. And I speak to a lot of amazing pediatricians around the world, and they said, we aren't, so we're not taught this in medical school. In a 4-year medical degree, 6-year medical degree in some places, we might have 2 weeks maybe of occupational health hazards, which usually have to do with things like asbestos and stuff like that. Nobody is taught this. And so it's up to the pediatrician, it's up to the doctor to actually go off and do some of this research themselves. And for a long time, there wasn't that much support within the medical community for this. One of the great strides that I've seen since I've started making this film is how the medical community have started to come forward and have started asking questions and started saying, we need to know a lot more. We know that the American Medical Association has been vocal in support of the Safer Chemical Act. Recently in the United Kingdom, the Royal Society of Obstetricians started talking about pregnant women being aware of chemicals. And then they tried to tell the Royal College of Obstetricians that they were crazy. So I was like, okay, not just me crazy, but, very august governing bodies within medical circles. And so we're in this really interesting situation where there are a lot of moms who know far more about this issue than their pediatrician or their doctors. And that's a huge motivator for me. If I know more than like 95% of the doctors in this country, there is a problem.
Yes.
There's a big problem.
So you have this great movie out there. So how do I go see it?
Well, when you make a movie like this, you kind of realize that not everybody necessarily wants you to make a movie like this, and you have to think in an unorthodox way about getting that message out. And so for me, I spent a lot of time wondering what was going to be the best route to get my film out there. And once the iPad came out, and once I saw the reach of apps, having done a lot of interactive work earlier on in my career, I knew that that was going to be the way forward. So I'm going to be releasing the film as the world's first interactive digital documentary app for the iPad, where you will be able to look at the film in its entirety if you want to, or you can watch the film, and while the film's playing, there's going to be lots of other information that you can also access that gives you a much bigger breadth of the topic. So you can stop the film at any point and you can pick and choose, I want to see more about that, and that explains exactly what's going on, because a film is not like a medical textbook. You can put 500 pages in a book. You can't have five hours of information before people's brains just shut down. So I struggled with that as, I wouldn't say a flaw in the medium, but a shortcoming in the medium of film. Like, how do you get all of this information across without zoning people out? And I think the best thing about the app is if you're only interested in asthma, if you're only, say your sister's son is diagnosed with autism, you can literally go, there's an index, and you can just look up all the things, all the parts of the film that just discuss autism, and that's all you need to watch. You don't need to watch the whole thing. So it's the first time that it gives the viewer an opportunity to decide exactly what part of the film they want, what information they want to access, and then give them the opportunity to be able to do so, which I think is really important, because sometimes we do want to know, but we don't want to know all at the same time. You know, sometimes it takes us a while to kind of pluck up the courage to really get immersed into this issue, but we need that information and we need it now.
You're such a creative geek.
So
yes, you're such a geeky mom.
I know,
Penelope, if I have, let's say I watch the asthma part and I have more questions, where do I go?
So we basically, what I'm compiling is the most in-depth video encyclopedia on.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up the screen of what the app is going to look like. Let me see if I can do this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just really excited. Can you see that? Can everybody see that?
Hold on, let me put you up. Okay, there you go. Okay, you're up. Okay,
Yeah?
go ahead. Penelope, tell us a little bit about, like, what I was asking is that if I go on to asthma and I have more questions, what do I do?
Basically what we will have is the top specialists that deal with asthma in the country and around the world talking about asthma, how it's treated, the causes of it, what you need to be able to do. And we also then have links to all of the authorities within each country that deal with this. So what we're doing is we're really setting you up really well to have pretty much everything that you could expect to know. The other thing that you might want to know, particularly for something like asthma, is where is it coming from? Does anybody else in my community have it? Because we know the environmental links to asthma are so clear, particularly with things like road traffic, for example, and air quality. So one of the other aspects of the app is the maps aspect. And once you get to the dashboard of the app, which I think you guys have there, so you'll see you can watch the full movie, you can either watch the scientists individually, you have Flipboard, which is an index of all the different things you can, conditions and chemicals and stuff like that. Then underneath that you have maps. You'll be able to geolocate your address on a map of the United States, and actually it's a map of the world, so anywhere in the world you'll be able to go and look, and you'll be able to see around you if there's air quality alerts, if there's a lead factory, if there's an old cement factory. And I am begging people to make use of this to give people a voice. You'll be able to actually upload a video, just literally, film yourself on your smartphone, upload a video, and you can say, my child has asthma, it might be this. I know that I live 3 blocks away from this really big highway, or, we have 4 buses that come and idle every day outside the school. My children's asthma have gotten worse. You can go and find out this information. So say you're moving from, I don't know, Chicago to Los Angeles, you'll be able to look up that address and you'll be able to see what is going on in that area if somebody has uploaded that information, or we know for certain that there's a known environmental risk for that area. So not only is it giving you the information about asthma, it's also giving you a context of community around the issue of asthma that might be occurring within your neighborhood and your communities.
Will you be including a forum down the road?
A forum?
A forum, yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah. I think if you hold it up, you'll see chats there.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
You can't see a chat on my face. Hang on. I was right there.
There you go. So underneath maps to the left.
Yeah, under Penelope, there's blog.
Just above Penelope, it says chats. So you will be able to have chats with people who are logged on and who are contributing towards this community. And I felt it was so important because when my TED Talk went up, I was getting emails from people all around the world, and I started realizing that, oh wait, this person in this town is telling me about things, and and I started connecting people, and I just thought these people need to be able to connect them, with themselves. I mean, this is just such an incredible tool, and we have the technology, we are able to do it. So let's use it for something that's really empowering, and I think giving people a voice is extraordinarily empowering, because we're told we don't have a voice, we're told we're crazy, remember, we're told that this doesn't exist. So I think it was really important for mums, because we love community, but for parents in general to be able to go to a space and to be able to have those conversations. I'm going to be killed by my child wielding a knitting needle.
Before
I'm such a safe mom.
So not only do you have an app, you have entertainment for us too. That's pretty multi-talented. Now, let me ask you. Go ahead, Karen.
A question. So if I see a cement factory, can I go to the maps and say there's a cement factory on 9th Avenue on 21st Street and insert that? That's what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, so the other thing I should also say, which is really important, is something of this undertaking is huge. It's never been done before. And I only know that it's capable of doing it because I did a lot of work. But I did this work, 8-9 years ago, when all of this was kind of like Star Trek. Well, I'm showing my age now. Sort of like, I don't even know what the modern day equivalent of Star Trek would be. Star Trek, the remake, right? Kind of beam me up, Scotty, kind of technology. And so I have to launch a significant Kickstarter to do this. But one of the things that we're hoping to do when we launch it is to be able to have a team on board who is constantly validating and checking this information out. I mean, there's a certain amount of trust amongst mothers that if you're going to put yourself up there, we don't want you to put your name, or you could put your first name, we don't want you to put your address in, we don't want you to be targeted or for people to be able to find you, but we want you to be able to say, this is my street or this is the area that I live in. And when it comes to actual environmental concerns, we know that we can double check this information. We know that we can say that there was a chemical spill at this point, at this place at this point in time, or there was once an old lead factory here, or there's a dam that's releasing whatever into our water supplies. We can verify those things. And the other great thing that I need to say is that in June, Apple announced that from now on, with the new iPads and with the new updates, that you won't ever have to physically go in and update. One of the most boring things about having an app is having to actually physically go and update it. You won't have to do that anymore. The app will update itself for you. So I update the information, the new autism statistic comes out. This is the other problem I have. I'm making this film, and every 3 years the figures come out and I have to change the film, right? I mean, it's great. They're like, oh, it's new detection. I'm like, 2 years ago, you're trying to tell me that you have better detection now than you had 2 years ago. That is, well, I can't say what it is. Because this is a nice, polite forum. I can't use words.
G+, it's
But do you know what I mean? And so, so basically,
I mean, just on BPA and BPS. I mean, when you made the film, you talked about BPA, and then 6 months or a year later, some other chemical that replaces BPA. What do you do with the film?
Exactly. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to insert a video. I'm able to redo the film and put it up there. And to me, that's the most exciting thing, because nothing dates media more than new information. And whether it's a book or whether it's a film, you make it, you put it out there, it is gone. Unless you get encourage someone to buy your film again or come pay money to see your film again, it's frozen in time. It's kind of like a bit of amber trapping a mosquito or something. It's a snapshot of the information we have at that time. The great thing about this app, it's always going to be updated, and you're always going to be updated. You're always going to be updated. You're always going to know exactly what is going on. And to me, that is just pure gold.
And is this how much is this app going to cost?
We're selling it as a movie, and it will come with another app that we've built. We're calling it the Chemcyclopedia, which basically has over 500 listings of chemicals that people are concerned about. And you'll be able to look up the chemical, you'll be able to look up where the chemical is found, you'll be able to get tips on how to avoid those chemicals, and we'll tell you precisely why people are concerned about it. It will tell you whether it's banned in Canada or banned in the EU, but still available in the United States. I mean, it's an amazing resource that you will have on your smartphone. It's not just for the iPad. It's literally like an encyclopedia. And when you go shopping for your carpet or your dining table or your shampoo or your meat or your milk or whatever it is, you will be able to look that up, and you'll be able to say, oh, wait, oh, I don't want that ingredient. Oh, well, look, this ingredient's on my thing. Maybe I don't want to buy that. How do I avoid it? Let me go under tips, and I could see, oh, guess what? I can make my own cleaning solution. Oh, maybe I'll go to Eco Karen and find out how she makes hers, because she has such great recipes. You know what I mean? It gives people the opportunity to have alternatives, and I think that is empowering. Knowledge is power.
Now, Penelope, when you say that, like shampoo, milk, carpet, does that mean I could type in the words shampoo and I will come up with what I need to look for when I'm buying shampoo?
It will basically, you can scroll alphabetically. You have a choice of things. So there's a section called hair care. You'll be able to find shampoo, and shampoo will list the chemicals that people are most concerned about. Now, there's a sliding scale of concern. Some chemicals, and they're not great, but they're tolerable compared to others. And there's others that you really don't want that anywhere near yourself, particularly near your children. So it will tell you, you don't want those chemicals, and you can just look, because the thing is, you should not need to feel like you have a PhD in chemistry to be able to protect your children. That is ridiculous. You should not be looking at the back of a label and working out, did I ever read about that once, or I'm not sure about this one, and it's, sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laureth. So, that's costing a lot of people. And I just felt I wanted a resource like that. I have all the studies here. I have all the research that I've done. Why not put it into something that people can use? And I want this would be an app that would come free with the other main app, and there are aspects of it. I'm trying to keep it free. I mean, I think that information should be free and information should be power. And in terms of buying the app for the iPad, it will be the same as, buying a film to watch a film. It's not extortionately expensive. But if you don't have an iPad, like you have a Droid. So what we will do is eventually we will roll it out for all the tablets. It's much easier to access these things on a tablet because it's really hard to interact with a small smartphone screen. But the thing about our Kickstarter, which is really cool, is that if you contribute to our Kickstarter, we send you a DVD of the film. We send you the app, the Chemcyclopedia, free of charge. So we're giving you as much as we can, and as the technology gets better, we just keep expanding it to all. So eventually, so that we're on all the various platforms. But we had to kind of start somewhere first because it's a huge undertaking.
So what's the cost of the film? If I want to buy the app just for the film and then I get the chem, what was that good cost?
The film's not going to be released till next year. I mean, I would like to keep that cost as low as possible. I mean, we're not talking about $20 or $15 or anything like that. If you buy a DVD right now, if you go to Amazon, they're usually about sort of $9. I would like to bring it down, but I have to say, I have to be really straight up and honest with you. I sold my house to pay for this film. So it is a labor of love. No one gave me the money. When I went to talk to people, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I've won awards. I have a little bit of a reputation, and I said, I want to make this film. No one would support it. They told me it would be the kiss of death for my career because they didn't believe the science in the beginning. They told me I was making it up, and when I showed them the studies, they were like, "No mom wants to watch that." This goes back to the Rapunzel thing I was telling you about. Nobody wants to know that information. People just want to tune out, and I was like, maybe, but I believe that mothers always want to know about protecting their children. They really, really do. I mean, moms are amazing, and it's their responsibility. So let's do it. But to do that, to make that step, I had to literally put my money where my mouth is. I mean, if I could do this for free, it would be for free. But unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be able to do that. But I want people to understand that I understand myself what it's like in this current economic climate. It is tough, and so it will be as least harmful on your wallet as I can make it.
But I have to tell you though, the cost of the film and the Chemcyclopedia to me is so worth the health cost, that you would have to incur if something happened to you later on. I mean, what's $20? What's $200?
I mean, you're so right, Karen, and I think that.
And the convenience.
I really love that Chemcyclopedia.
Because I will tell you, I mean, all three of us, we know, you more, obviously, you know more than I do, but I know some chemicals, and I know how to read labels more than, let's say, my kids or my husband. But I will tell you that I will buy the app and put it on their phones because I know they will buy the wrong thing. You don't know how many times I make my trips to Whole Foods even and return stuff. That's my role in my family. The customer service person hates me.
I've been there.
There really is nothing out there that you could type in and say, what do I, like shampoo, what do I need to get that's going to be okay? Versus, like we talked about this before, EWG has a great database, Skin Deep database, great database, but I have to go through every chemical if it's not listed, if the actual product's not listed, and they don't have it. Correct me wrong, I don't think they have an app, right?
They've just brought out an app. The Environmental Working Group have done amazing work. Yep. They have really been great advocates and great leaders in this field. But I have to say that, and I understand why it's hard to do this because I'm doing it myself.
Right.
you know, so you're shopping. How often are you just shopping for shampoo? I mean, most people shop for shampoo and milk and bread and eggs and everything else. And so even if you have the EWG app, it's like, okay, so I want to buy strawberries, but I'm not sure about strawberries, but they don't tell me anything about strawberries. And there are other apps that are out there that are great that will list strawberries, but they're not telling you that chloropyrifol is a chemical that you need to be aware of. In other words, buy it organic, because strawberries are sprayed so much. Wherever in the world you go, strawberries are sprayed because they're a very vulnerable crop. So just buy it organic. If there's one thing you're going to buy, there's strawberries. And you know, you go into the Dirty Dozen, but the Dirty Dozen is listed somewhere else. And there are, this might sound a little bit controversial, but there are small holes in the Dirty Dozen, because the Dirty Dozen doesn't mention something like tomatoes, for example, or citrus. We know that they're heavily, heavily sprayed. So they may not come up within the Dirty Dozen, but that doesn't mean that, you know, if you're going to go and buy, you know, make a giant pot of salsa, that you want to go and buy loads of chemically raised tomatoes, because that is a huge pesticide burden that you're suddenly bringing into your home and into your family's diet. So, you know, what I've tried to do with this app, because I'm a mom, I shop, I cook, I know the information that I need to have, and I'm really lucky, my children are lucky that I can protect them because I have this knowledge. But this knowledge is part of what I've had to do as my job. Your child should not have to suffer because you don't have the time to do this. That is unfair. That is crap, quite frankly. So I tried to make something that would kind of fill in those holes a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with any of these other resources, and I think they're amazing, but we just want to be here to supplement what is already out there and try and make it easier for people.
So it sounds very practical.
Yes, because we're practical people. I mean, you know, we don't live in a theoretical world. It's great to have all of this in theory, but, you know, my mother's coming to visit me, or my mother-in-law, even worse, God help me, I don't think my husband's watching, listening, so I think that's fine to say that. I need to know that if I'm not going to use conventional cleaner, that when she comes and does the fingertip swipe, that my homemade or my green cleaner is going to do the job. You know, we need to be practical. It has to be practical and it has to work. And the great thing is, there's so many alternatives that you can buy, and there's so many things that you can do yourselves. You know, you don't have to be an alchemist, you know, quite frankly. And when we think back 250 years, you know, or 300 years, when Henry VIII was beheading people, he wasn't beheading his cooks because they were poisoning him. He wasn't beheading his cleaners because his castles were not clean. You know, they were still able to kind of keep things hygienic and do things well, because there are things that we have in nature that have been used in our civilizations and in our societies for a long time. We've just been sold that we can have better living through chemistry, and that actually as modern day feminist women, we don't want to use the old-fashioned things. We want to use these new shiny things with one touch that just, you know, makes everything go away. And so I think that we've been really well marketed to, and we need to reclaim that, because we have to raise our children practically. You know, I live in New York. You know, you guys, Karen, you know, you live upstate. Anna, you live in New Jersey. You know, we're not running away from this. We're not living in, I don't know, North Dakota. I'm trying to find like the most extreme northern Alaska. We're not living in Alaska, you know, we're living in places where there's going to be a certain amount of toxicity, whatever. So let's navigate our way around it, because we still want to live our lives. You know, we're not talking about giving your life over to this and being completely swept away by it and becoming this green kind of eco-nut. I mean, I'm a green eco-nut, but I'm not saying everybody else has to be. I'm just saying that I'm like that because I want to be. But there are things that you can do right now in your environment that's going to make it much safer for your kids, and it really isn't a huge major lifestyle change at all.
Actually. I can tell you though, I mean, you know, you talk about the way things were olden days. When me and, you know, Anna, you know, when we grew up, when we were 3 or 4, we weren't exposed to these kind of chemicals. So the health issues that we're facing are pretty modern day health issues. Absolutely. that we you know, either contracted or we were exposed to recently. And when I say recently, I'm talking about in the last decade or so. Now our kids from utero are being exposed now. So the health issues that they're going to be facing with when they're in their 30s or 20s, yeah, it's really scary.
Absolutely. Well, you know that when we were growing up, when we were young people, it was so rare for our parents, friends to talk about cancer or any of these sort of conditions. They didn't really sort of exist in the way that they exist now. I mean, I know so many people with cancer. I know so many people my age who passed away from cancer. I have a friend of mine who had cancer of the placenta while she was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Never heard of that.
I mean, I was just like, oh my God. And so I know that there's something happening. You know, I didn't know autistic children when I was growing up. I had asthma myself, but I didn't know that many people who had it. And so we can see that. And going back to the whole thing about these new chemicals that are brought in, well, there are more and more chemicals being added to. I mean, one of the scientists in my film, a doctor from the Netherlands called Gavin Tentusha, says it perfectly. He says, in your bodies and my bodies, we are dealing with 30 to 50,000 chemicals that our grandparents didn't have to deal with, simply because they weren't invented yet.
Right.
So if every year anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 chemicals, and we don't even know that figure for sure, are being brought onto the marketplace without any kind of regulation, without any kind of intensive data supplication, so that people who are then going to be using it, manufacturers are going to be using it in their products, can say, okay, well, maybe we don't want to use that in a product aimed at children because it shows this, this, and this. If they don't have that information, you can just keep inventing chemicals and putting them out into the environment, out into the market, and no one's accountable. So that's why I feel it's so important right now. We are literally at ground zero time-wise in terms of this issue, because we also know from the science of epigenetics that when these genetic triggers are turned on, they're not being turned off. So it means that our children carry the genetic messaging that sets us up for disease, and then they're passing it on to their children because it's not being switched off. So a huge amount of research is about how can we switch the genes off. And a lot of people think, take the chemical out of the environment and you'll switch those genes off.
Well, I think Robin, who was with us last week, Robin O'Brien, said that only 10%, I think, of cancer is due to gene, and 90% is not related to genes. Am I quoting that?
And there are some cancers which is even higher. For breast cancer, they know it's 95% is environmental in origin.
So, yeah, you can't blame it on the genes and say, well, there's nothing I can do.
I know. And the thing is, and once the genes are affected, you then can't say, oh, well, the gene's affected, what are we going to do about it? Because you're just leaving people to fend for themselves. Right. So, now, I think the more awareness we have in this issue, the more that there are conversations like this, the more likely there is that the government and research institutions will put more money into finding out about this, the more likely that suppliers and manufacturers and multinationals will come up with the products that we want. And if they're not coming up with the products that we want, we go ahead and make the products that we want. I mean, part of the app, we have something called Parent Power, and it's all about how parents are seeing gaps in the markets to provide, sorry, I lost my microphone, provide products that they want because it's not being provided for them, and they're going ahead and making them. And I think that we need to support them in their endeavor because I think that they're doing a great thing.
So tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign.
I can't hear. Hold on. I'm sorry. I can't. Can I hear? You want to hear? Okay. Turn around.
Aww. Our future researcher, future filmmaker.
You going to say hi? Okay, how about you have one and I have one?
There's a solution.
Okay, right. Mama,
so talk about your Kickstarter campaign.
So the Kickstarter campaign is going to be launched at the end of this month, on the 28th of September, and we are trying to get it done by Thanksgiving. It's the first ever Kickstarter that I'm doing. It's the only Kickstarter that I'm doing, and it's the only way that we're basically going to be able to get this woolly mammoth off the ground, because it is, I mean, it's huge and it's great. But the thing that really excited me is when these tests started coming in, and in the Kickstarter video, you will see how it happens. You'll be actually able to scroll through the film and pick out images and pick out a section that you want to find out more about. You'll be able to go onto the maps. I start off with my address and I look at all the things around me. I have a lead factory that wasn't that far away. We have PCBs factories that my son was playing soccer next to. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I use my address as a starting point, and then you'll be able to kind of see how it works. So the Kickstarter video is really important for those people that it's actually possible and can work.
So
I think we're almost done.
We're almost done. I think she's like, you know, it's time for this.
Okay, that's the cue.
That's a cue. Penelope, you will give us the link so we'll be able to post it with the YouTube video and also the article on our website.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us about Toxic Baby, the movie, as well as the app. Listeners, you know, it'll be on the website if you didn't get to see it or you want to see it again. And next week we have Andrea Donsky from Unjunk Your Lunchbox.
Yay.
So we've had Andrea on before. She was the one that talked about menstrual pads and what's in the menstrual pads. So we're going to have Andrea back on again. So it'd be really fun. September 10th, 2 o'clock. And as always, like and share this video on all your different social channels because Penelope, you were great. Absolutely amazing.
I was saying to them I was a bit of a virgin doing that.
No more.
No more.
No more, lady.
You have been Green Sister Googleized.
That's true.
The new term of art. So everybody, thank you so much for watching the video. And again, comment, share, and like. And that's what we like. So see you next week, Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Bye, Penelope. And Karen, it's always a pleasure.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.